Well, that's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out here in just a little bit.
Yeah. Lots of action always happening on at least one of the streams here.
Yeah. Right now, over on the main stream, I'm not sure what the next matchup was. Let me get that information for you real quickly. It is, oh wow, it's Stefano going up against Ryung.
Yep.
There we go, getting the correct lobby host. Let me make sure players are ready. And we will get this started here. What do you think about Entombed Valley?
I like the modified spawn locations so that your third doesn't expand towards your opponent. Like, I think that that's cool. So you never get top or bottom on MLG Entombed Valley. I think that's a pretty neato change. The expansion positions feel tricky to me because of where like the ramp is directly in between your two expansions, and like the third can at times feel far. It puts you in a weird spot when you like FFE.
Right. All right, well, here we go. Finally, Entombed Valley is loading. Thorzain against Inori. Game number 2, as what possibly could be, yet again, another foreigner win here in the MLG Spring Arena number 2. Rob, who do we have up here in the top right-hand corner?
Well, in the top right corner, representing Team Evil Geniuses, playing as the Red Terran, this is Thorzain. His opponent down here, lower left-hand corner, playing for Team SCV Life, the Blue Protoss, Inori.
And on this map, I think you were mentioning it there in the beginning, the Xel'Naga Tower is very important, of course. Sometimes you'll see Terran players just sit there. But these little side areas are something that players as of late are really starting to make sure are constantly scouted. Whether it's leaving an observer patrolling in that pathway or just throwing some Marines all over the place in maps, because it's so useful just to bypass the center. And if you get behind your opponent's army like that, you can take out reinforcements. You can go for a quick...
Today has been the day of flanks so far.
It really has, actually, yeah. And you can go for a quick natural. There's a lot of things that it opens up, and it's just... I think it really makes for a great map.
I mean, it gets tricky beyond 3 base.
Absolutely,
you know, because what do you, if you look at the choices that you have that go to 4 base, I mean, yeah, the one that would be closest to your opponent if you were bottom or top spawns would be the best, like that one that you just looked at in the middle. Like, that's probably your natural 4th. And then, I don't know, things start feeling weird because it's kind of far away.
Right. But that being said, it's pretty easy to get up on 3 bases on this map. Simply because once you take down these destructible rocks, as a Protoss, you can use gateways to wall this off and only use this ramp as your main funnel. Or you can use this ramp as your main funnel as well, because it just allows for fewer force fields to wall it off. Terran-wise, you can also do the same thing as well with that 3rd base. But in a match up like this, it all really comes down to what the Terran plans to do early game, how much how much damage his medevac time is going to do. And if the Protoss decides to go for a bunker bust or something with a lot of sentries, or just a standard 4-gate, which sometimes Protoss players will just throw into this match.
And so Thorzain, once again, we see him going for that barracks directly into his command center as he continues to scout the map. Hasn't quite made it over to Inori just yet. Inori, on the other hand, has just finished up his cybernetics core and immediately starts Warp Gate. Saving up a significant amount of minerals here. Gonna see what he's going to do with that. You can almost guarantee he's gonna throw down that expansion. Yep, and there it goes. Taking a look at his vision for just a minute. And now we've got Thorzain is just about to get up into that base. He is gonna see the Nexus in just a moment. Yeah, getting all that information. Walking up into the base, he's only gonna see that 1 gate in the single side core.
And he should retreat right away after getting in there. He knows that Stalker is being Chrono boosted out.
Oh.
And will get out just in time to be able to return home and build that bunker. Because that's what he did last time with that scouting SCV. It was the bunker builder.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be back in time in this match, unless he's... Yeah, I think that's another SCV there moving out onto the ramp, or maybe that's just a Marine.
Just a Marine, yeah.
How do you think it would be confusing if you could see what units were on the minimap? Or does it give away, like, from the observer standpoint? Because obviously for a player it gives out too much information if I just have, like, things patrolling, but...
Yeah, maybe. It might get kind of cluttered on the map.
Oh, once again.
But the Stalker does get there before.
Oh!
You're going to see Thorzain use this.
Yeah, that ramp.
It's kind of the line on that ramp where Inori has to pass through to be able to see up. And because of that, if he just sits his Marines there, he's not going to be able to go any further. But if some more Stalkers perhaps get across the map, we don't really see it being built. He's actually cutting some corners there with a single Stalker out on the map. Inori is a pretty greedy player. Last game, on Shakur's going for that quick DT and did not really have the army size to deal with that big drop.
Well, I mean, as you said, I believe in the last series with that Grubby had said that players that don't take risks don't get ahead.
Right.
Like players that don't take risks don't win tournaments terribly often.
Here's Thorzain deciding to move out. Is he going for a quick third? I think he might just be scouting for any proxy pylons, as those can prove quite troublesome. See engineering bay being added on, factory started. Soon to see a starport after that. Meanwhile, for Inori is getting one observer out, adding on a second one back home. And there is the Twilight Council going down here in the main.
And meanwhile, Thorzain, we see him just wrapping up that factory. His stim timing is getting a little over halfway. So once again, probably going to see that medevac timing. As you had mentioned before, it's going to all come down to how much damage he can do with that. Inori was actually very close to being able to stop Thorzain's drop in the previous game, because his units, he just had too many units on the other side attacking the floating factory.
Right.
And that meant that all 4 medevacs were able to get out their full load of units. And that's just too much damage. And stim and +1. And now we see Blink getting started for Inori.
As well as one forge. Will it be double forge most of the time when you see a quick Twilight Council like this? He does not simply have the reforces to support it and stops after that. So kind of a slower game here, end game 2. 0 units killed across the field. And that is, I think, how Thorzain likes to play it, honestly. We're going to see him slowly start to take his third base. And we can even see Inori's now. Already using an observer over here on patrol on this little side alcove. He's going to use that to spot any medevacs. And you can already see this other observer doing the same thing as well. Getting some immortals out. Blink on the way, just starting +1 attack. And here are those 2 medevacs about to pop out for Thorzain, and we'll see if he goes for an attack. And there we go. That is, I mean, this is as standard as you get right now. It's almost like Hellions in the TVZ matchup for Terrans. It's really just, it's so good. That's all it is. If your opponent uses force fields and you take out the Stalkers, you can lift up and take it out. Good play here. Stemming one of those Marauders to be able to take that out twice. Earns himself a Stalker kill. Then, of course, he can just heal that unit up.
Yeah, it's just totally fine. And only things gained, nothing lost. Although here we have a little bit of revenge. That first Marauder going down. Now, Inori's got a lot of units up here. He also clearly has enough force fields to split this army in 2 and make this a really unfavorable engagement for Thorzain. If he goes up too far up that ramp, he's going to lose units, and there we have it. A few of them going down, also warping in additional reinforcements there. Oh, blinking forward onto the bruised and battered army. Now we have Thorzain getting in for a bit of a counter stim, and then forced to retreat.
A big blink there. Thorzain has reinforcements coming. Without this Immortal, Inori's army will get torn to shreds. Here he goes falling back. Will we see the blink to try to take out that medevac? No, he is going to have to fall back, as he simply does not have enough forces to be able to do much. But he's going to try to secure a 4th. This Marine will possibly not stop this probe, as a big blink forward takes it out.
Back here, Thorzain taking his 3rd already. Man, it's so useful being able to build command centers and land them wherever you want.
Absolutely. I mean, it allows him to be so safe when expanding, yeah. Whereas, I mean, his opponent has to do something like this and probably keep some forces down here, if not devote an observer to scouting like we see over here.
Yeah, and Inori is, I mean, both of these players in a relatively comfortable position. We see Inori now getting charge, as well as his ground level 1 armor. Following up with an additional forge as well, so that he can get his 2/2 upgrades at the same time. And now we see that his robotic support bay is just about finished up. So we're also going to see some Colossi. Oh, adding on an armory. NG bay as well. Going to see some upgrades out of Thorzain. Oh, hey, ghosts.
Yeah, and it feels like Thorzain has been doing this style for even since the TSL3 days against the MC, the famous match where Thorzain kind of became known to the world. Once we get those ghosts out, he's going to do another follow-up push. Add in some Vikings, as I believe his opponent, or he thinks his opponent's going to add in those Colossus, but he's instead going for charge and getting those Templar Archives, kind of the parting style of play.
Yeah, Zealot Archon. Could be pretty sick here. Gonna have those Immortals in the back. He'll probably stick with his current Stalker count as he goes for his +2 ground weapon upgrade. And this is actually gonna line up very nicely with when he's going to have a favorable amount of Archons. Oh, wow. Blinking just a little bit. If only it had been a little bit further away. Like maybe get just behind the... Nah, I don't know if that would have fixed it.
Let's see. As soon as charge finishes, he immediately starts.
Oh, wow. Get a storm
Psionic
too.
Storm. Thorzain pulling ahead slightly economically, but that is kind of to be expected, as on 3-base, the Terran can just push out so many units out of those reactored racks. And will he decide to go for this push now, as his ghost count is currently at 2?
Oh, man, those Vikings are not going to do anything.
Yeah, and he might have actually misread his opponent. He can land him behind, or he could also use them if he sees no Colossus to go and drop in the mineral line. Sometimes you'll see players do that. They do a pretty quick job of taking out those probes, but we'll see here if he does that, as now Thorzain's huge army is about to shove over into Inori's side of the map.
Yeah, Thorzain's very much ready for push. Got to be feeling pretty confident with his army composition. Now Inori placing a couple sneaky pylons that he can keep an eye on what's going on. Possibly even warp in some flanks, stuff like that. Oh, one of those observers. Actually kind of surprised that Thorzain doesn't see that. Maybe it's just out of his line of sight. Yeah. Thorzain's generally really good about like seeing that shimmer and getting on the scan as he walks across the map.
Absolutely. A couple of Zealots transitioning over here into the third. Actually, a lot of the army was. And here we go, a big fight now for the players. A huge stem on the forces. He catches the army a little bit off guard. Positioning-wise, that is not a good spot to be fighting for Inori, as he simply cannot get the big concave around. Thorzain going right up against the ramp, and a force field even being not good feedback though on that ghost. How many more?
That was so choice.
Have? 3 more.
Yeah.
They do have enough force storm. We'll see how well Thorzain can dodge here. Really Blink can take one of the medevacs out. He does do so. And there's the stem. Here come the Psi Storms. Even connecting it close enough.
Yeah, he only needs to land a couple of them. And, I mean, you win. Like, if you have force fields down and you force your opponent.
Oh, he might be baiting his opponent right into these ghosts. That would be so smart here for Thorzain. Will he send those ghosts forward? No. As the Vikings are getting taken out there.
Oh, it's almost as though he was waiting for the offensive blink so that he could just stem and kill a few stalkers.
Yeah, and he got a couple there. 2 of them very, very close here. Thorzain can see this army engage. The EMP's not going so well. However, the Psi Storms are going incredible there. Just devastating this army.
Oh, he needs one more storm and he's going to be able to kill the majority of this army, although it doesn't look like he has enough energy. He does have an Archon out there, but now it's seeming as though his army is getting surrounded just too quickly. Thorzain just may have too large of a force for Inori to be able to deal with this, and Inori is going to be forced back to retreat across the back of the map. Now, Thorzain could very well have cut off all of these units and potentially finished them off, but opting for a very safe decision.
And with that attack, Thorzain is actually expanding, getting down that planetary. That'll prove quite troublesome until some Colossus are in the fall. Great tech switch here for Inori after seeing all those Vikings, taking some of them out. Thorzain seeing no Colossus, he most likely will not rebuild them and focus heavily on those ghosts, as he's quickly approaching the supply cap. And if he hits that without that many Vikings, those Colossus are going to do so much for Inori.
Yeah, he isn't. I mean, we see Thorzain is not working on replenishing those Vikings, and Inori just about to establish his 4th. Now, Thorzain's slightly up in that regard. He does already have his 4th down. Oh, man, one of the ghosts goes down. Inori fortunately gets the cancel off that time. Not going to be losing 2 Nexuses immediately this game.
Yeah, I mean, the game was basically over, so I'm sure that's why he didn't cancel it last match. But
yeah,
here in game 2, it's a completely different story. Very, very even game. Both players already supply capped. 4 Vikings being built. Trademark Thorzain there with those double starports.
Well, hey, I mean, you might as well switch around your add-ons too as much as you want, right? Like, That's something that's, I guess, a little bit underutilized. Although it doesn't actually matter here if you're only building Vikings and medevacs. Oh man, Inori possibly losing a very crucial frontline Archon there. Takes a lot of the shield damage. Oh, and whiffs a storm.
For Thorzain, this is a position you really don't want to be in. You want to try to be the one that's attacking your opponent rather than being the defender as a Terran, because you will be able to get out more forces quickly because you are next to your base. But because of that, he can simply go sit on all of your unit-producing structures and really seal the deal with that. With even a small force, even if some zealots happen to sneak in there with a war prism or something like that.
Oh, getting out there, picking off a single Viking, although at the cost of what looks like just about 2 Stalkers now. See that perfect scan directly onto where the Templars are. Oh man, who says EMP isn't sick versus Templar? And there we go, taking out all of that energy, pretty much rendering those Templar completely useless, trying to morph in Archons in response, but they are just dying left and right, and now the Vikings are getting in there and decimating the rest of Inori's army. And now we see that Thorzain has stimmed quite a bit, so he's got a lot of low health units over there, but maybe, just maybe, his infantry force is big enough to finish it off. And now Inori forced into a full retreat. He really wants to hold on to this 4th here.
Can Thorzain seal this best of 3 here and move on as another foreigner to advance forward in this bracket? We're about to find out here as a huge force is about to get EMP'd for Thorzain. He's standing his ground, not stutter stepping, now just starting. The supply is dropping. Back at home he has another force ready. He's taking out so much of this units here, and that is so smart for Thorzain, sacrificing his force to allow those medevacs to get away. And we can see 3 of them will return home, and he has more and more forces being built here back at home.
Yeah, he's got some pretty sick production right now, but if you look at his float, imagine how many more units that could have been in any engagement, or imagine how much closer he could be to pushing. Right now, Inori is just getting inches closer to having too much stuff for Thorzain to deal with. Thorzain's already a little bit behind on units. We already see those High Templar pretty much replenished for Inori, and by the time he engages, that could potentially be 5 storms. If Thorzain is not able to get that ghost count back up once again and land those EMPs like he did, Thorzain's not going to be able to win the next engagement.
Yeah. He got a little bit lazy there. I think that he thought he was possibly farther ahead than he really is.
Well, he was like, oh man, I landed all those EMPs, didn't get hit by a single storm, I can totally kill him.
Right. Upgrade-wise, 3-1-3 for the Protoss player for Thorzain. He's already at 3-3, and here we go, as this potentially could be one of the finals engagements here, as the Protoss is already maxed out. A scan goes down to see the army. Sees those Templars in the back. He does have Cloak. Will he be able to get those EMPs off? Storm going down for the retreat. And he might just fall back and wait for some more energy on those Templar.
Those ghosts also have a significant amount of energy as well. They're going to be just about full at that next engagement, or at least half of them are. Man, that is 10 ghosts.
And he might have too many there. This forward pylon finally...
Charge is so sick.
Yeah.
like for so many different reasons.
Finally,
unfortunately not
focus
focus firing though. Yeah, Thorzain going for his 5th.
Let's see. Over here, Inori is basically dancing in the middle, doesn't know when to
it's hard to
engage
know
at this
where to break this, right? Like
Right.
you're between a planetary fortress and an almost planetary fortress and an army with a lot of ghosts.
Right. We could just see him warping DTs there, and this would not be in a good place whatsoever. Thorzain, though, has this sensor tower out, sees his opponent. If you go into this view completely, he's trying to get some of the Templar there. Gets, I think, a couple snipes off, but will this be the engagement? That is a lot of Colossus. They're under attack from the Vikings. Will not be able to continue forward, though. And here are some Stalkers being warped in.
And here we have the 2 completely maxed armies. And really, they're just going to be vying for positioning repeatedly. Now, this gets semi-rough for the Terran player, just because of how Warp Gate works, right? Like, if you exchange and you trade armies, a Protoss player is on the front of his production cycle always, right? You make the units before you have to wait for them.
This is what I was talking about here. Inori doing these little kind of bait and switch maneuvers where he sends in some zealots, sacrifices them over at the main, and basically makes the force fall back. And if those got through that and set on these blocking the reinforcements, it would have been so good.
Well, I mean,
for him.
he had a good window of opportunity to do that, right? The Zealots were just kind of sitting there for a few seconds, just killing more supply. Inori's observer placed directly in proximity of the sensor tower.
A lot of Zealots.
It looks can you hallucinate observers?
No.
You can't.
That would be overpowered.
Yeah, it'd be so overpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense at all. You would never build an observer again.
Exactly.
As if you could do it for 100 energy. Oh man, getting the scan, picking off that observer there, and now we have a couple of these Zealots getting in here, wreaking havoc onto those SCVs. Not a terribly large blow delivered.
And Inori is sacrificing Zealots to free up supply for Colossi. Already up to a total of 5. We've got 6 more gates, so once he does have a big engagement, he can just simply warp in a huge amount of units, getting that Warp Prism out to help.
Wow.
A lot of ghosts. To help reinforce his army. And Thorzain is not going to have any of this. He sees that his opponent is possibly weaker, and he is forced to warp in more units.
Yeah, I'm semi-surprised that Thorzain hasn't tried to figure out where all those units are getting warped in from at the top left, you know?
Right.
That pylon's just kind of been hanging out there, although maybe he's going to bait him into an attack. Now we see Inori, oh man, losing, was it 2, almost 3 Archons in that engagement.
It's definitely a lot. Thorzain is going to start sacrificing SCVs in just a little bit, but for now he's going to try and take out this 4th base, or at least thinking about it.
Oh.
Some feedback's coming down. And can he snipe? Oh, he misses the EMP barely here. Storm going down on top of the Ghost. They are forced to retreat. And Inori might have actually just cost himself this base with that positioning.
Oh. The base is so close to dying, but I'm not sure that Inori can do anything about it. There's actually no way for him to favorably fight that army.
This is a very, very weird game between these two players. Being so careful with how they engage and when they engage.
We could start talking about how the metagame evolves and how engagements start to really matter. Like when you look at a player, there was that article recently written on Dignitas.
Right.
I believe it was. I can't remember the name of the writer, so please forgive me. And they talked about how watching Flash play, he pretty much only chooses engagements that he will win. Like if there's any chance that you lose an engagement, you actually just shouldn't fight it.
Right.
Or even trades most of the time generally aren't worth it unless you're massively ahead in economy. So it's really interesting to think about that. I mean, it's really basic in and of itself, but it can end up being such a crucial skill to have. And now Thorzain once again going for that kill, and Inori this time does get off the cancel. And now Thorzain's going to be able to walk up that ramp. Now, if Thorzain gets in here with his entire army, Inori's going to be bottlenecking himself as he tries to go for this engagement.
Oh, and the EMPs are landing, but not doing the best of jobs there. The Vikings are getting decimated. Will they be able to take out enough Colossus to make it worthwhile? 4 remain, and this army is getting destroyed. And supply is really getting crazy here. 140 to
did
88.
He get both of them? Wow.
He got all of those medevacs, actually.
Oh, man. That may have been the nail in the coffin for Thorzain.
That's a big warp in.
Ouch. That was really unfortunate. Very well done by Inori. Oh, man. He just didn't have any of his infantry army in there to protect the Vikings. Yeah, and Thorzain's forced to tap out, moving into game 3. Huh. Inori sure handling himself there in that last engagement.
Yeah, I felt like Thorzain actually was the one that lost that game, not Inori winning it, if you get what I'm saying. The decision to go into that main, or go into that 5th base down in the south, Thorzain had no way to get out of that. And even though he hit the feedbacks for Inori, it didn't really matter. It was already about a 50 supply difference there. I think Thorzain is going to go for a very quick game here, or at least a quicker game, as I felt like he kind of fell apart in that last kind of 10 minutes, 8 minutes of the game. He simply just didn't know what to do, and he also read his opponent incorrectly in the opening with all those Vikings.
Well, and that, that wasn't even really the loss yet. Like, he was still in a good spot after that. He was able to pick favorable engagements. He was able to take off the 4th base. He was able to get significantly ahead. Even, I think that what he was trying to do in killing that extra base in the bottom right was totally correct.
Right.
But just, I mean, leaving your Vikings exposed to Archons was rough, because he just needed to have them for a little bit and prevent the Colossi from being able to hit him.
Right.
There's a large space over the left side of that base that he could have probably executed that just a little bit better, but hey, when you're busy doing tons of things, things fall through the cracks.
Absolutely. And next map is going to be on Cloud Kingdom here. We are waiting for Inori to join the game before we can get this started. I'm very interested to get back out on the tournament floor and see what kind of updates we have in this tournament so far.
Well, if there's one place to always get up-to-minute updates, it is Liquipedia.
That's very, very true. We actually, if you're watching right now on the stream, you can simply click brackets up in the top right-hand corner of your screen, and that will give you all the updated results. So let's make sure players are ready. And we'll get this started here in just a matter of moments. Both of them are ready. All right, here we go.
So kicking off into game number 3 now, Thorzain